everybody, and welcome to another episode of This Week in Philadelphia Sports, where we go over everything that happened this week in Philadelphia sports. Again, if you're new to this channel, guys, and you haven't yet subscribed, make sure you leave a like and hit that red button down below. We want to build the biggest base of Philadelphia sports fans possible, and don't forget, you can get daily sports content from myself and all of our writers at phillysportsnetwork.com. We're going to start things off with the Philadelphia Eagles, who are entrenched in their OTA program, but there has been nothing in the way of major news this week, which is bad for a weekly news show, but hear me out, we've still got quite a lot to talk about. It's actually rare that the Eagles have a quiet week. They've become this absolute rollercoaster team where there is never such a thing as a slow week for Eagles when it comes to news content. There's always a rumour, there's always a trade or a signing or something big happening, but for once the seas are calm and we can take a deep breath and analyse everything else that's going on. Obviously the big news this week was that Joe Douglas will be interviewing with the New York Jets today for their vacant general manager role after they parted ways with Mike Maccagnan a couple of weeks ago. Now, Douglas is by far the favourite to land his role, and there has been a comment by Mike Lombardi, a former Super Bowl champion general manager, saying that Douglas would like the promotion, that he's unhappy with his current role in Philadelphia. Now, of course, everyone sees the name Mike Lombardi, they get all uptight and defensive because of the comments he made about Doug Peterson, which at the time, you can understand. It wasn't exactly a hot take, but Peterson proved the world wrong in remarkable fashion. But I've been lucky enough to talk to Lombardi myself, had him on my podcast before. He actually helped me out with some very important stories over the course of the off-season, most notably when the world was convinced Nick Foles was being tagged and traded and whatever else it may be, that was never going to be the case. So Mike Lombardi clearly has a pulse on the NFL that very few do due to his experience with the Patriots and of course many other teams. So when he says that Joe Douglas isn't happy with his role in Philadelphia, I don't totally discredit it, and I don't think he's unhappy in Philadelphia. He probably wants to be a general manager. He has long been touted as a future general manager in this league, and if we're brutally honest with ourselves here, Howie Roseman is going nowhere anytime soon. So if it's a general manager role that Joe Douglas wants, even if it is an absolute scrap heap challenge in the New York Jets, you've got to take a chance and go for it. I think that's what Lombardi was most likely referring to. The fact that it is a vacant general manager role, that's where Douglas wants to be. And if you're sat behind Howie Roseman without that roster control, where you're doing half the job, then watching the other half of it acted upon by someone else, you're kind of going to get annoyed at some point. So I understand it. It would not surprise me if he's named the Jets general manager soon. But more importantly, I've said this before, guys, watch out for Andy Weidel, who has followed Joe Douglas from Baltimore to Philadelphia. The two have been BFFL for quite some time. He's the top talent evaluator within that Eagles organisation right now. Do not be surprised if he follows suit as well. And secondly, Terrell Owens and Donovan McNabb are beefing. Shock. Apparently when caught by TMZ in one of those brilliant videos, I don't know who spends that much time at airports. I don't understand. Anyway, in one of those great TMZ videos where you've got a reporter who pretends to be the best friend of the man they've got a camera fixed on, runs up to Terrell Owens asking him if Donovan McNabb should be going to the Hall of Fame, to which Terrell Owens just replied, who? Which is the ultimate burn, slap in the face. Like, if you're gonna cut someone down, that is the way to do it. I was a fan of that. Now, obviously, over the years, there's been a lot of back and forth between McNabb and his former #1 receiving target, and even though their time together in Philadelphia was short, certainly not short of entertainment or bickering. What's interesting, though, is that recently, Terrell Owens actually came out and said that McNabb was envious of Owens because the spotlight was on him and the city loved Owens and didn't embrace him in the way they embraced McNabb. Now, judging by McNabb's recent comments on Carson Wentz, I'd be inclined to think that has some value, wouldn't you? Should McNabb make the Hall of Fame? That's a debate I'm sure we can have for years and years to come, and many of us probably will, but it's not going to be in today's episode, unfortunately. Maybe if you want a video on that, let me know down in below. I'm happy to go back through some tape and some stats and to make a for and against argument. If you want to see that, let me know in the comments. Louis Riddick of ESPN, a former NFL great himself, said that Carson Wentz could become MVP in 2019, and I don't discredit that either. Carson Wentz now has one of the most lethal red zone offenses in the league. Talking of which, there was an article on Philly Sports Network from myself detailing who the biggest beneficiary will be from that red zone offense, and it is not who you think. When you've got that many receiving options, when you've got the chemistry already brewing with Deshaun Jackson, one of the best burners in the NFL, implement a strong running game with Jordan Howard and Miles Sanders, one can only imagine the damage that Carson Wentz will do. If you look at 2017, I made a roster video recently comparing the two. I think this team is actually better, especially on offense. They've got all 5 of those starting offensive linemen back. They've got Dallas Goedert included now. You've got J.J. Arcega-Whiteside included. You've got Deshaun Jackson replacing Torrey Smith. He gets a full off season with his offensive coordinator who's working with him as the #1 quarterback, not the backup like we saw last year with Nick Foles. That's very important. So is that logical? Absolutely. That doesn't really need too much analysis. I would absolutely put Carson Wentz in the front runner category. I'm not going to say he's going to go and win it, but you can certainly make a bold claim early on with a lot of weight behind it. And also with OTAs well underway, it's posed to me a very interesting question. Now I'm going to spend a whole video on this. I've recently posted an article, again, cheap plug, on PhillySportsNetwork.com detailing exactly what's happened. I do feel as though there could be a slight shake-up in the secondary. In OTAs right now, neither Jalen Mills nor Ronald Darby are attending due to rehabbing the injuries they suffered last offseason, which means Rasul Douglas, Avonte Maddox and Sidney Jones are all massively reaping those rewards. But my question is it really that hard to imagine a Jalen Mills demotion at this point, or even a secondary shake-up? Mills is in his last contract year, and if you want someone like Maddox or Douglas, or maybe even Sidney Jones to take over those reins if Jalen Mills doesn't get re-signed, then do you want that talent stagnating on the sidelines while Mills is slightly inconsistent? It's a tough argument, and I would not surprise me in the slightest to see someone really ball out this training camp and preseason. Maybe it's Rasul Douglas, who now looks like the Incredible Hulk on his road to redemption, or maybe it is the most versatile rookie I can remember in Eagles history, Avonte Maddox. And let's not write off as well that if the team do cut Andrew Sendejo at safety, they would get a 4th round compensatory pick. So maybe, just maybe, they move Maddox to safety, where he started a few games last year, notably for myself against the Jaguars in London in week 8. See him start, so not only does that get you another defensive back in the field that's younger, that's going to develop, that's going to benefit from that experience, but you also get that 4th round pick from Sendejo. So I don't know, there's just something to think about. Again, there will be a full video breaking down all of the potential battles and ifs, buts and maybes. Again, let me know what you want to see on that front and your opinions on such in the comments. On to the Sixers news right now, and apparently the team are set to offer Jimmy Butler a max contract, and well, colour me shocked, because yeah, that was just always going to happen really, wasn't it? I don't really know what else to say to that at the moment. Interestingly, I did get an email from the team confirming they're working out 5 players tomorrow. Unless you're not watching this today, then they would have probably already had them. Players are Terrence Davis, Lugans Dort, Zach Hankins, Terry Harris, brother of Tobias, Harrison Matthews and Naz Reid out of Louisiana State. So they're working out rookies for the upcoming NBA draft. How will they do? Who are they? I don't know. Check PhillySportsNetwork.com. Maybe I'm going to write something up. On to the Phillies more importantly though, and they've gone 5-5. The start of this week in Philadelphia sports is unheard of. They've never had their last 10 at 5-5. I am distraught, I am disgusted, it needs to change now. But of course the biggest news this week was that Odubel Herrera was arrested on domestic violence charges, and that is just something that doesn't fly. Now I understand the whole innocent until proven guilty aspect. I'm also very aware of the delicacy of these matters, so it would be really unfair of anyone to assume he has or not, but given the nature of the police report already out in the open, and the fact the Phillies are already trying to facilitate a trade, and Herrera has already apologised to the team, which you wouldn't do if you didn't commit that atrocity, it would be fair to say that there is at least a strong sense of accuracy surrounding that report. And if that is the case, then the guy has no place in baseball, he's got no place in Philadelphia, and frankly, there's just no place in society for that kind of behaviour, so it needs to be acted on. The MLB cannot afford to let this go unpunished. Phillies can't afford to do what other teams have in the past and just almost look past that and let it slide. As far as I'm concerned, Herrera is just out of the picture. You just don't do that. It's not tolerable. And just on a note as well, guys, I know this is a delicate topic, so there will be some links in the description. If you're a victim of domestic violence, or maybe you know someone that's going through it, it's never too late to speak up to get that help and support you need. So please, there are anonymous chat lines all throughout the world. Just click one down below, and let's just put an end to this type of behaviour, because it's got no one place in 2019. However, the team are nearing a trade for Jay Bruce, 32-year-old who has 14 home runs. That's tied for 9th in the AL. Likely slot into left field replacing what Herrera brought to the table. Herrera himself, after being such a key contributor in years past, has had a slow start to this season, so maybe a breath of fresh air was needed anyway, and the signing of Jay Bruce would certainly help that. We don't know what the Phillies are looking to give up for him at the moment, but the trade talks are ongoing. Also, the Phillies got homered on by someone called Will Smith yesterday, which is the most ironic thing I can think of. Best thing about that, though, was there was an article, I can't remember the actual outlet, but there was an article that said, here's why Will Smith walked up to the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air theme. As if it needed an article. As if someone needed to explain it. Someone got paid for that article. And that's just not fair. Anyway, the Phillies are still atop their division, and we'll be hoping to shed this cloud of disappointment and frustration from fans regarding the behaviour of Herrera and leave it behind them. As for the Philadelphia Flyers, let's just check in for our weekly... Yeah, there's another dust ball rolling across the floor, isn't there? Philadelphia Union play Minnesota today at 4 Eastern, so that will be a game worth watching. Again, this may be ongoing. The game may have finished. So here's a preliminary reaction. And the Union beat Minnesota. They snatch all 3 points and continue their surge at the top of the Eastern Conference. Union let slip 3 points in a troubling loss to Minnesota. You can just pick which ending you want, unless they draw. Didn't account for that. And the Philadelphia Soul are back on top of things as well. After snapping a losing streak, they sit at 3-3 on the season after beating a team that are now 0-6. So it's the small victories in life. You take what you can get, guys. Anyway, that's it for what's happened this week in Philadelphia sports. Don't forget you can follow me on Twitter at Liam Jenkins PSN, at Liam Jenkins No, I've just said that. At Philadelphia SN. And make sure to hit that subscribe button and be a part of such a great community. Thank you so much for all of the support, guys. It really does mean the world to me. From myself, Liam Jenkins, I'll see you next time for another video.